maestro Kirill Gerstein and maestro Josef Špaček. Talking about Josef, we agreed upon him speaking in English too, because we will make the conversation more faster, and I will only translate one way into Czech. Takže dohodli jsme se s Josefem Špačkem, že on se také přidá k angličtině, aby jeho kolegové rychleji rozuměli, o čem mluví, a já budu shrnovat překlad do češtiny. Well, gentlemen, before we tackle the subject of the night, I have a short question on each of you, and I ask you for a short answer, all right? Josef, you said in one of your interviews that violin is an opium for you, a drug. How many days or hours can you live without your drug?
Well, when it's nice outside and you're at the beach, it can be quite a few days, actually.
See, otázka byla, v jednom z rozhovorů řekl Josef, že housle jsou pro mě opium, droga. Kolik hodin nebo dnů může bez takové drogy vydržet, když je to na pláži, může to být klidně několik dnů. I believe that in one of your interviews, maestro, you said that going to the piano is like to do one's prayer. Is it like that, really? Can you shortly elaborate?
I meant it.
Okay. Tak tomu říkám strašná odpověď, když jsem o ní žádal. Zase v jednom rozhovoru Kirill říká, když jdu ke klavíru, je to jako kdybych šel k modlitbě. Ano, zatím si stojím. And maestro, in our interview a year ago, I asked you if in another life, in your restarted life, maybe if you come back to here, to this world, will you be a conductor again or not really?
Oh yes, even a better one.
A když jsme spolu dělali rozhovor s panem šéf-dirigentem, ptal jsem se ho, jestli kdyby se znovu narodil, se stal dirigentem opět, a on říká, ano, a ještě lepším. To chce potlesk. Master Bychkov, back in 1965, I suppose, you still lived in your homeland, and one day you studied the Romeo and Juliet by Čajkovský in a kitchen, right?
Yes, I did.
Why so, and why did it strike you so much?
There was no other place where I could be alone.
In your Moscow flat?
It was Leningrad, St. Petersburg.
I see.
We lived in a communal apartment, and I think people here probably would know what it means. Every family had one room, and there was a kitchen for everyone, and there was one shower room for everyone and one toilet for everyone. So one day I came back from a concert that I attended, and I heard Romeo and Juliet of Čajkovský. Mm-hmm. It was very late at night. My family, they were all sleeping, and I went to the kitchen, turned on the light with the score which I bought just recently. It was a second-hand score, it was not a new one. Mm-hmm. And I started looking at it and I started conducting it. I thought I was conducting.
Otázka zněla v rok 65, nikoli tedy Moskva, ale Sankt Petěrburg. To žije ještě maestro jako mladík ve své vlasti a jednoho večera studuje partituru Čajkovského Romea a Julie v kuchyni. Ptal jsem se, jak je to možné, o co šlo. Ano, bylo to opravdu tak. Já myslím, že vy, kteří pocházíte z této země, říkám pan dirigent, víte, co jsou to paneláky, abych to řekl česky. Jednopokojové byty, koupelna pro všechny, záchod pro všechny. No a já jsem byl na koncertě, kde se tohle hrálo, přišel jsem domů, naši už spali, takže jsem je nechtěl budit. Vytáhl jsem si partituru, kterou jsem někde koupil z druhé ruky a rozsvítil jsem si v kuchyni a dirigoval jsem, tedy myslel jsem, že diriguji. "50 years had to pass before Maestro Bělohlávek came with a proposal. Did you ever ask him why he pointed at you, or what was the reason of his plan?
No, I thought it was natural.
O 50 let později přichází Jiří Bělohlávek a nabízí Semyonovi tento projekt. Proč? Myslím si, že to bylo úplně přirozené. A já si myslím, že teď ale bychom za to mohli zatleskat Jiřímu Bělohlávkovi. An applause for Jiří Bělohlávek. Maybe he's listening to us, you never know. Josef, when did you were you informed by Jiří Bělohlávek that this is going to happen, all this Tchaikovsky big thing with Semyon Bychkov? And were you happy in the orchestra, or did you say, oh my God?
Oh, I actually very much remember this because this was after our performance in Royal Albert Hall in London, but not the one 3 days ago, but the one 5 years ago.
5 years ago. Mm-hmm.
And there our CEO, David Mareček, came to me and he said, you know, there's Semyon Bychkov in the audience. You guys have to play really well. Because he's here and he's listening very carefully, and, you know, if we play well, maybe he will accept the Tchaikovsky project. So that's how I heard about it the first time.
Ptal jsem se Josefa, jestli si on pamatuje, kdy se k orchestru dostala tahle informace, že by se takový Čajkovského projekt mohl s Bychkovem natáčet. On říká, no pamatuju si to docela dobře, bylo to asi před 5 lety, hráli jsme v Royal Albert Hall a před koncertem přišel generální ředitel David Mareček za mnou a říká, hele, v hledišti je Semyon Bychkov, koukejte hrát pořádně, protože když se mu to bude líbit, tak s námi možná bude dělat ten projekt Čajkovského. Já myslím, že i tohle chce potlesk. And of course, only naturally, when you were invited, and why? Was it on the background of your 2015 concert, where you used the urtext edition of the piano concerto? Or what was the reason? Or were you friends before, the two of you?
Well, I'm very fortunate that my connection and friendship, musical and otherwise, with Semyon started, even predates the amazing relationship between Semyon and the orchestra. We had met first in Birmingham and first spoke in a bar called Pravda. Mm-hmm. There really is a bar in Birmingham called Pravda, and one thing led to another, and Semyon then kindly invited me to play a concerto I didn't know, Shostakovich Second, and he said he also didn't know it, so we would get to know it first together. And one thing really led to another, and so this has been a long relationship that continues to surprise and become even more fulfilling and dear and important to me. So I was thrilled when there was this idea to be part of this wonderful project.
Mm-hmm. Ptal jsem se Kirilla, jak vlastně on byl vtažen do té hry, a jestli to tak smím říci, jestli se znají se Semyonem Bychkovem už dlouho, nebo jak to vlastně vzniklo. Ano, potkali jsme se kdysi v Birminghamu, do detailů teď nepůjdu, ale chci říci, že tenkrát mě oslovil Semyon s tím, že bych mohl nastudovat koncerto, které jsem do té doby neznal, nebo nehrál ho, Šostakovičovo druhé, Shostakovich number 2, right? A tím vlastně začala naše spolupráce a naše dlouholeté přátelství, do něhož se, abych to řekl, vpasovalo nebo zařadilo i to, že jsem účasten tohoto Čajkovského projektu. Let me just come back very, very shortly to the urtext edition that you started playing back in 1915, I think. Was it because
I'm younger than I look.
Because you had a privileged approach to the Tchaikovsky Museum in Klin, or what was the reason? Tell us.
Yes, there was in fact a question about, it all started with one note in the flute, because there was a discussion among several pianists whether there's a mistake or not. And so I got in touch with Tchaikovsky archive, and the lady very kindly answered and said that the note is correct, and in fact it's going to be all in their new edition of this concerto that finally clarifies what is by Tchaikovsky and what's not by Tchaikovsky. And I knew that there was some question about these versions, but for about 100 years, since about 1915, there's been a big question: what has Tchaikovsky actually written? And then when I saw the work that they've done and the musical argument that's on the page, that I think I think Semyon and I think by now the orchestra also are convinced that surprisingly what the composer wrote is in fact better than what an editor changed posthumously, and so I think it's only logical choice to play what is better musically and what is actually by the composer, and I think that's the impetus behind doing this version now.
Shrnu, byl jsem v určité době vtažen do diskuse několik klavíristů, jak je to vlastně s tím původním textem, s tou partiturou a s úpravami. To mě zaujalo, dostal jsem se do kontaktu s Čajkovského muzeem v Klinu, spolupracovali jsme, nebo byl jsem součástí toho, když vypracovávali tuto edici, tu opravenou nebo prostě dopracovanou, a pak jsme to ještě probíhali se Semyonem a došli jsme k názoru, že to, co dirigoval Čajkovský, nebo co bylo v té verzi za jeho života, je překvapivě daleko lepší než ty všechny další úpravy. Takže jsme se shodli na tom, že se k tomu vrátíme, že to budeme hrát a natáčet. Actually, maestro, a privileged way was paid for you and the orchestra, because this is a 4-year or 5-year process, which started by rehearsing, of course, then touring, I suppose, and only then recording. Do you appreciate?
Yes, this is what I believe in. When we make a recording, we have to live with the piece before we document it. And that is something that can bring results that otherwise we cannot achieve. It is still an enormous challenge, but we all feel, and so does the audience, when we lived with something, it becomes part of, it's in our blood, and we are free then to go in different ways with the same music, and then we can document it on recording. We have to remember that every recording is a document of that moment. And every time we will come back to it, it will be different. But we still would like to hope that the document has integrity. And I think for me personally, the most important thing is that years later, if I listen to a document of my performance, that I can agree with myself. That is a great satisfaction. It is not always so, but you would like to hope that eventually you will still agree with what you did, and for that you have to live with it.
Tohle myslím je důležité, protože já jsem nanesl téma, že pro tento projekt se velkoryse našla možnost pracovat několik let na tom, že napřed se bude zkoušet, pak se bude koncertovat a teprve nakonec natáčet. A na to Semyon Bychkov vysvětluje ano, že toho si nesmírně považuje, protože předtím, než natočíte něco, ať je to cokoliv, kor takhle velký projekt, tak se s tím musíte zžít. A to nějakou dobu trvá, a to se taky podařilo. Vždycky, když nakonec vznikne nahrávka, je to dokument určité chvíle, ke kterému se nikdy už stejný orchestr nebo stejný zvuk nevrátí. Ale pro mě je důležité, aby ten dokument měl integritu té chvíle. To znamená, kdybych se k tomu někdy vrátil a poslouchal to, abych v tom našel sám sebe, abych se s tím mohl stotožnit. Well, all this sounds very well, actually. A já myslím, že tohle se potlesk, protože to je to podstatné, dámy a pánové. Josefe, all this sounds very well, but then the period came where the devils were in the details, of course. How was the orchestra happy or unhappy about it? Be frank, please.
Well, I think it's no secret that Maestro here is a perfectionist. And so, yes, it required a lot of work, but in the end, when we look back, at it, we all think that this was really worth it. Where the orchestra is now from where it was 3-4 years ago, especially when Maestro said that we live with pieces. And I can see the benefit of it also myself, because like when I learn a concerto or a sonata and then I come back to it in 2 years or 3, it just feels better, different. It feels more settled, then new ideas come up, and I think this is very important to work like that with orchestra. And this is what Maestro brings here, and I think it's really beneficial.
Říkal jsem, to, co předtím uvedl pan šéf-dirigent, je krásné, ale znamenalo to, že nastalo období, kdy ďáblíci byli v detailech. A jak se na to tvářil orchestr? A Josef odpovídá asi tak, že ano, bylo to docela perné, ale vyplatilo se to. Když se dneska ohlédnu za tím, kde jsme byli před 3-4 roky a kde jsme dneska, myslím, že je vidět, že jsme ušli další kus cesty jako orchestr. A já osobně mohu říci, že ta metoda, kdy třeba nastuduju nějakou sonátu nebo nějakou skladbu a vrátím se k ní za 2 roky, se vyplácí, protože mám jistý odstup, jako člověk jsem trochu mezi tím dozrál a ono se to vyplácí. Yes, of course, go ahead.
Every time I hear discussion, it is so difficult, it is so hard, I always think about the composer. Do you think it was easy for them to compose this kind of music? So if it wasn't, why should it be easy for us to interpret it?
Já vždycky, když... Přeložím pro ty, co netleskají. Vždycky, když slyším ty řeči, že něco je těžké se naučit, tak si říkám, co pak pro skladatele bylo těžké to zkomponovat. Bylo snadné to zkomponovat? Ne, pro něj to taky bylo těžké. Takže si nezaslouží, abychom k tomu přistoupili jen tak.
It is so difficult to be good at what you do, and it is so easy to be mediocre.
Je hrozně těžké být v tom, co děláte, vynikající, a je hrozně snadné být průměrný. Kirill, you've been listening very carefully and very easily, and this reminds me of your respect and appreciation of Maestro Glenn Gould. And he was, apart from his mastery as a pianist, also a commentator on music. Would you like to do the same one day? Or be a commentator or even a philosopher of music?
Well, I think the same as anybody, and particularly Mr. Gould, is not possible to comment, perhaps very much so. But since you brought Mr. Gould up, and I think apropos our discussion, there's a wonderful quote from Gould that I can't probably remember exactly, where he says that he thinks that a life in music is not about momentary ejections of adrenaline, that a life in music is building continuously a state of wonder at music that is lifelong. And I think this is what we are all after, and I think this is what we refer to when about coming back to these pieces, to living with them, and how they always seem to change, but it is we that change, and the pieces are these mirrors that we get to reflect.
Kirill velmi pozorně naslouchal a já jsem si přitom vzpomněl, že zase v jednom ze svých kanadských rozhovorů, tuším, říká, že kromě jiných klavíristů si velmi považuje Glenna Goulda, protože on nejenom byl mistrem svého řemesla nad klávesami, ale byl také komentátorem hudby, dovedl o ní dobře mluvit, psát, skoro filozofovat. A Kirill Gerstein na to říká, že si vybavuje jednu myšlenku Gouldovu, kdy Gould říká něco něco o živě interpretované hudbě, že to není momentální injekce adrenalinu, ale že je to proces určitého zázraku, který se v určité chvíli zmotňuje. I actually think this might be a good final word for the discussion, but let me finish by asking you if you like the concert, if you like the response of the audience. Was it a good night for you? Kirill.
I was busy, but the audience is wonderful. And so is the orchestra. And the conductor, the rest I don't know.
Já jsem měl teda dost co dělat, ale pokud jsem si všiml, tak publikum bylo fajn. Josefe.
I was pretty busy as well.
Já jsem měl taky co dělat.
No, but as an orchestra musician, I think one can really feel when the group works together and is united. And I think tonight was one of the nights. In the morning, when we had the dress rehearsal, we were still fixing a few things, especially like being together, in endings of phrases. And I felt today everyone just really played their best and really focused and looked up at the right time for everything. And it just brings such joy I think for everyone, because it really feels like a teamwork. And it's priceless to have concerts like these.
Já bych tomu jenom dodal, říká Josef, že si myslím, že dneska naše parta skvěle fungovala. Začalo to už ráno na zkoušce, kde jsme ještě ladili některé detaily, některé fráze, a myslím si, že nás to naplňuje uspokojením, protože to, co jsme tady prožili, bylo dobré, bylo výborné a publikum podle toho taky reagovalo. The final word is on you, maestro.
In America, very often at the end of the concert, people will come to me and say, "Thank you, I so much enjoyed myself tonight."
Tam velice lidi přijdou a říkají vám, děkuji vám, dneska jsem si to sakra užil.
And I always want to ask, did you enjoy the music?
Takže užili jste si tu hudbu, prosím vás. Did you? Užili? Dámy a pánové, Kirill Gerstein, Josef Špaček, maestro Semyon Bychkov. And if you want them to sign your programs or whatever, it's your time now. Come on the